From unexpected costs to range anxiety and charging nightmares, the reality of electric car ownership might not be as rosy as advertised. In this video, we're removing the curtain on the EV experience and the reasons that might surprise you. Despite strong incentives from state and federal authorities encouraging Americans to switch from gas-powered cars to EVs, a recent poll shows that many of those who have already made the switch regret their decision. According to a new report from McKinsey & Co., nearly half of all Americans who have bought an EV are considering their choice and planning to return to gas-powered cars for their next vehicle. The McKinsey report, part of their 2024 Mobility Consumer Pulse study, reveals that 46% of American EV owners are very likely to opt for a gas-powered vehicle next time. This number is quite surprising, even for the researchers. Philip Kampshoff, who leads McKinsey's Center for Future Mobility, expressed his surprise saying, "I thought once an EV buyer, always an EV buyer." He sees these findings as a warning sign and a signal of a real stalling in the US EV market, a trend not as pronounced in other parts of the world. Globally, the sentiment isn't much different. The survey, which included around 37,000 consumers from various countries, found that about one-third of those who bought EVs are contemplating a switch back to gas-powered cars. Australia topped the list, with 49% of EV owners wanting to return to traditional internal combustion engines. Other countries surveyed including Brazil, China, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and Norway. On average, 29% of respondents from these countries also wanted to switch back to gas vehicles. So, what's fueling this change of heart? The report highlights a few key reasons. Number 5. Charging issues. Despite the growing number of EVs on the road, charging issues remain a significant pain point for many owners. Let's explain why this is a problem and what it means for current and prospective EV drivers. First, let's talk about charging infrastructure, or the lack of it. One of the biggest gripes among EV owners is the uneven distribution of charging stations. Imagine driving across a state and finding that charging stations are few and far between. This applies to many EV owners, especially in rural or less populated areas. While cities and significant highways might have a decent number of charging points, more remote areas often lag. This makes long road trips a bit of a gamble. Drivers can end up anxiously searching for a charging station and, when they find one, may have to wait in line or deal with malfunctioning equipment. Another issue is the time it takes to charge. Unlike a quick pit stop for gas, recharging an EV can take much longer. Fast chargers can get you back on the road quicker, but they're still not as quick as traditional gas refill. Even with fast charging, you're looking at a wait of at least 30 minutes to get a decent range. This can be inconvenient, especially if you're used to the swift process of filling up a gas tank and hitting the road again. Cost is another factor that's causing some grumbling. Charging at home is generally cheaper than public charging stations, but not everyone has a home charging setup. Public charging stations, especially those that offer fast charging, can be pretty pricey. Some drivers report paying as much as they would for a tank of gas, which can be a shock after the initial promise of lower running costs. Range anxiety is a term that frequently appears in conversations about EVs. It refers to the fear of running out of battery power before reaching a charging station. Even with advancements in battery technology, some EVs still have a limited range compared to a full gas tank. This anxiety is genuine for drivers who regularly make long trips or live in areas with sparse charging infrastructure. The constant need to monitor battery levels and plan trips around charging stops can make driving an EV less carefree. Number 4. Limited availability of raw material. Another challenge is the availability of materials needed for EV batteries. To make these batteries, manufacturers need materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel. However, mining and processing these materials can be tricky and sometimes harmful to the environment. Plus, as more people buy EVs, the demand for these materials goes up, which can lead to shortages and higher prices. This situation not only affects the cost of making EVs, but also raises concerns about sustainable practices and the long-term environmental impact of battery production. Number 3. Environmental impact. Another significant concern is the environmental impact of battery production and disposal. While EVs produce no tailpipe emissions, the manufacturing of lithium-ion batteries involves mining and processing raw materials, which can have substantial environmental effects. The extraction of lithium, cobalt, and other minerals can lead to habitat destruction and pollution. Additionally, recycling old EV batteries is still a developing field, and improper disposal can result in harmful chemicals leaching into the environment. Number 2. Software struggles. It's important to understand that EVs rely heavily on software for many of their core functions. From managing the battery and optimizing energy use, to controlling the car's driving dynamics and even handling entertainment and navigation systems, software is central to an EV's operation. While this high-tech approach brings a lot of benefits, it also means that when something goes wrong, it can affect multiple aspects of the vehicle. One major issue is the frequent software updates. Unlike traditional cars, where updates are rare and usually involve physical recalls or fixes, EVs often require regular over-the-air (OTA) updates to improve performance, fix bugs, or add new features. While OTA updates can be convenient, they also introduce the risk of glitches. For example, a software update intended to enhance battery efficiency might inadvertently cause issues with the car's charging system or even affect its driving performance. Another software-related problem that many EV owners face is the inconsistency in user interfaces. Since EVs are still relatively new to the market, different manufacturers have different approaches to their software systems. This can result in a confusing array of controls, settings, and displays, which can be frustrating for drivers who are used to a more standardized experience. Additionally, integration with smartphones and other devices isn't always seamless, leading to issues with connectivity and app functionality. Software bugs and glitches are also a common problem. Just like with any other technology, EVs are susceptible to software bugs that can cause a range of issues, from minor annoyances to major malfunctions. For instance, some drivers have reported problems with their EV's navigation system freezing or becoming unresponsive, which can be particularly inconvenient during a trip. Others have experienced issues with the vehicle's driver assistance systems, which rely heavily on software to function correctly. Another layer of complexity is the need for specialized service and repair. Unlike traditional cars, which can be serviced by a wide range of mechanics, EVs often require repairs and maintenance from technicians trained in their specific software systems. This can make finding a qualified service provider more challenging and potentially expensive. In addition to these issues, there's the concern of long-term software support. Older models may not receive updates or support for new features as technology evolves, making an otherwise perfectly functional car feel outdated or less capable. This lack of support can be a major drawback for owners who want their vehicles to stay up to date with the latest advancements. Number 1. Cost of owning EVs. According to a recent study, nearly 34% of EV owners feel that the total cost of owning an electric vehicle is higher than they expected. Let's dive into why that's the case. First off, let's talk about the sticker price. EVs often come with a higher upfront cost compared to traditional gas-powered cars. While prices slowly decrease as technology advances and more models hit the market, EVs are generally more expensive. It is mainly because of the high cost of the batteries that power these vehicles. Even with incentives and rebates, you might pay a premium for an electric car. But it's not just the initial purchase price that can hurt your wallet. Ongoing costs are another factor that can add up. For one, while EVs are known to be cheaper than gas-powered cars, they're not maintenance-free. Battery maintenance, in particular, can be costly. Although EV batteries are designed to last a long time, they eventually wear out and can be expensive to replace. Then there are the potential repairs. While EVs generally have fewer moving parts than traditional cars, which can mean fewer things that might break, repairs can be pricier when something does go wrong. Specialized parts and trained technicians can drive up repair costs. For instance, if you need to replace a part unique to EVs, it might cost more than a comparable repair for a conventional vehicle. Let's not forget about the cost of charging. While charging at home is usually cheaper than buying gas, it still adds up, especially if you don't have access to a home charging setup. Public charging stations, particularly those that offer fast charging, can be expensive. So while you might save on gas, you could end up paying more in charging fees. In addition to these costs, there are other expenses that some people don't anticipate. For example, if you don't have a dedicated home charging station, you might need to install one, which can be an added expense. Plus, if you rely on public chargers, you might find yourself paying for subscription services or membership fees to access specific networks. What do you think about these issues? Do you also have an EV, or are you planning to buy one? Share your thoughts in the comments section and don't forget to subscribe.